The pursuit of happiness is quite a nice right to obtain when it is involving your life. This civil right has been given to every American citizen quite easily, for it was adopted by the Constitution centuries ago. But what if you weren't allowed this right just because you were born with a different aspiration for love? Well, that is exactly what same-sex couples in the United States are facing today. Same-sex couples are denied the right to marry in many states due to the Defense of Marriage Act, granting each state permission to decide whether or not to allow it. I personally think gay marriage should be allowed because I believe everyone has a right to love who they please, the government would greatly benefit, and the use of the term traditional marriage has been long exhausted. Same-sex couples should have the right to marry each other simply because they love one another. I believe if two people are in love, they should have the right to marry, and others shouldn't be the ones to decide their fate. Ally Jo, a member of TNIC, writes, "Who would be affected if homosexual marriage was legalized? No one. Everyone believes that there is one person out there to love us. Most married opposite-sex couples don't even know of any same-sex couples, so why should a same-sex couple's marriage be decided by a man and a woman who don't even know the names of the same-sex couples trying to marry? Also, there are many marriages that come about through simple mistakes. Ally mentions, Las Vegas, Nevada is also known for being the place where many weddings occur which are annulated within 1 week. These marriages are not based off of love, but simply a drunken night in Vegas. Why should occurrences like these be okay, but a gay couple who have been happily in love for 10 years trying to marry is not?" James Kellard, a writer for the Gale Group, says, "There are people who marry for money, non-sexual companionship, even health insurance. Do these reasons also threaten the institution of marriage? I believe these reasons do threaten the institution of marriage, unlike same-sex marriage. These little instances are just instigators for a future divorce. No, not all marriages are perfect, and not every same-sex couple is going to live happily together forever, but because their sexual preference is a little different than someone else's, it makes everything they choose to do with their life a reason to be denied the right to marry who they choose. I believe love is love, and your choice is your own choice, not mine. Gay marriage is not going to start the disruption of marriage, for there are already plenty of other marriages that fill in for that. Gay marriage should be allowed because I think the United States could easily benefit from the results. For example, since same-sex couples aren't allowed to marry, M.V. Lee Badgett, an economist, says, as a result, same-sex couples are much more likely to be uninsured than are people in different-sex couples, and if the uninsured avoid preventative care or get care they can't pay for, they wind up costing us all. It has been proven by New York Times that if an ordinary couple were not allowed to marry, they wind up losing over $500,000 in a lifetime. So why is it okay for same-sex couples to lose $500,000? Hey, at least it's costing other people in the end. So why is gay marriage still illegal in almost all of the states? Baggett makes a good point. Hundreds of thousands of excited couples would start planning weddings, generating at least $1.5 billion by my calculations, and spending of flowers, cake, bands, meals, photographers, hotels, tourism in general, suits and gowns. All of these purchases add up in millions of sales tax revenue for local governments. There are quite a lot of benefits to allowing gay marriage in the United States. Not only would the benefits start rolling in towards the government, but all across the world, same-sex couples, and even just homosexuals in general, are going to be having the time of their lives. Although all of these things seem quite obvious as to why gay marriage should be legal, many people still believe marriage is not for the same sex. The main argument seen in most cases is, the institution of marriage has traditionally been defined as between a man and a woman. Yes, traditional marriage has been around since cavemen, but haven't we evolved enough to know that everything changes? The cell phones we use every day are newer than two men or two women loving each other. Yet we adjust, because that's what we do in order to survive. I personally believe people use this argument only for the basis to protect their disgust of something just because it is completely different from their standards. Another argument that is common is gay marriage could potentially lead down to a slippery slope, ending with giving people in polygamous, incestuous, bestial, and other non-traditional relationships the right to marry. I do not understand this argument. Humans are humans and are made to love each other. A human is not made to love a dog as loving a human. A slippery slope is not going to happen if gay marriage isn't a slippery slope is going to happen if gay marriage isn't made legal. There are going to be more protests, the government's going to lose more money, and people are going to be severely unhappy. I think the arguments are caused due to opinions that are unnecessary. Why should people decide whether or not someone is happy just because they're different? In the end, gay marriage should be allowed because of many reasons. It is not right to prevent happiness from others that won't affect you in any way. The United States would greatly benefit from allowing gay marriage. If same-sex marriage is made legal, a slippery slope is not going to take place. I personally believe it is wrong that gay marriage is illegal in most states. It's just like when different races weren't allowed the same rights that whites were allowed. It's plain and simple discrimination. Gay marriage eventually will become entirely legal, whether it's now or in the future.